Well, hello again, and welcome to another broadcast of God's Answers for Anxiety and Depression. I'm Pastor Ray Barnett. Want to wish you a good morning, or a good evening, or a good afternoon, depending on what time you're watching this broadcast. Today, I'm in the exact same spot that I was yesterday. And you're not going to get to see or hear. I've already begun this broadcast. I was just across the way here over by the riverside. And not only did the sun come out in all of its glory, all 90 degrees of it, so that I was pretty much frying while I was trying to talk, but Amtrak scheduled one of its trains, long trains, to come through right in the beginning of the broadcast. So it was a good time to say, you know what, I'm going right back to the same tree I was under yesterday, except that I'm sitting in the opposite direction. So you can see the other part of this lock, Yankee Hill Lock 19, where we've been quite a few times. All right, so to start today's broadcast, let me just take a quick review of what I said to you yesterday in the form of a question. What is the color of your soul? Now, I got some responses, a couple of responses, and it's not unusual that for someone with depression to pick the color black. Remember that Winston Churchill, talked about his chronic depression, and the name that he gave it was the black dog. Whenever he would get very depressed, he called it the black dog. Well, you see, you got the same color in there, black. Precisely why he thought of a dog, I wouldn't know. But somebody else remarked how it can be white or black depending on the day, and that's also very, very common when we talk about what is common knowledge to everybody on the planet: good days, bad days. So we want to be able to conquer this, right? That's the goal of these broadcasts, to help you to actually overcome it. But I would like to mention that, as I've shared with you before, there are so many famous people, Churchill being one, who suffer from chronic depression as well as anxiety and what today could be thought of as a florid mental health problem. In other words, a mental illness, so-called mental illness. And yet they were geniuses in their own right. Went on to accomplish many, many great things. And it occurs to me, what might have become of these genius intellects and the works that they accomplished, either in politics, government, music, the arts, and so on, had they got a treatment early on that was, in my opinion, or at least in my way of illustrating it, an aggressive type of a treatment, well, maybe it would have helped, maybe not. But one thing I think is certain is that it would have taken away from their accomplishments. Now, I mention this to encourage you that the list is so long, believe me, it is extensive, of the amount of people who suffered from anxiety, depression, and again, mental health disorders such as bipolar disorder, even schizophrenia. And I'll give you an example real quick. The Oxford English Dictionary is by far the standard in the English-speaking world, in the Western world. Oxford English Dictionary. What very few people know is that in the forming of the dictionary, it was similar to what we have with Wikipedia, where so many people can contribute, and you have editors and a chief editor overseeing these things for accuracy, and changes are made. Well, the Oxford English Dictionary was done the exact same way. It was put out, invitations were put out to contribute to the dictionary, and people began to search for words and find definitions. But by far, one of the largest contributors to the Oxford English Dictionary was a man. He was a medical doctor, a former medical doctor, who committed a murder and was sentenced to life in an insane asylum there in England. And when the chief editor went to find this man, because he didn't know who he was, and he was making so many valuable contributions to the dictionary and its forming the dictionary, he was shocked to find that this man was behind bars and was considered to be, and I think, having read the book, that he would definitely be considered to be insane. Now think about that. Here's a man, a medical doctor, committed a murder. He was an American, by the way, but he committed the murder in England, so he wound up in an English mental institution for his entire life. Yet he made a significant contribution at that time to the foremost dictionary in the Western world. Think about it. Then just go through, when you have time, to think about all the imposing figures of history who have, well, they suffered with depression and anxiety and mental health disorders, yet they made valuable contributions to the world. And I mention this so that you would be encouraged. Now again, the purpose of these broadcasts is to help you overcome it, so you don't go down in history as someone who merely suffered from these conditions of both the mind and the body. But I think there's a greater point, which is that even if you have these maladies of both mind and body, that does not mean that your life cannot make a valuable contribution to others. Again, let me repeat it. My hope for you is that it's a day when you talk about what used to be in the past. That's what I want for you. However, if for some reason, in the providence of God, you were to stay in this condition and have it mitigated by knowledge and other things that you can do to help yourself with the grace of God, let your life be valuable. Don't let this plague of the mind, again, of the mind and the body, but we think of it specifically of the mind or the brain, don't let it plague you to the degree that you give up in such despair and your life never reaches its full potential. So we see that there are men and women who have made valuable contributions to our culture, to the world at large, in music and arts, in government and so on, politics, who suffered just like you do. But they didn't let it hold them down. So, going back to the question, what is the color of your soul? The salient idea of yesterday's lesson was that your life is controlled by your thoughts. Remember, I gave to you the words of Marcus Aurelius. A man's life, a woman's life, a person's life are what his thoughts make of it. That's how these other people, famous people, were able to make great contributions to the world, because they didn't let their affliction hold them back, and neither should you. Now I'll repeat it for the third time. My hope for you, my aim for you, is to be healed. That's what Jesus did. He healed the sick. He didn't leave them in their sickness or leave them in their miserable conditions. He healed them. And that's the aim of this broadcast, is to give you lessons that you will be able to overcome this and overcome it for good. So what is the color of your soul? Now, some of you pondered that question. A few of you answered it yesterday and made some comments and contacted me either in the comment section below or in private. But what I want to share with you today is the difference between feeling and fact. Having already stated on numerous occasions that if you have a true organic issue going on in your body and is causing what we term and interpret as anxiety and depression, when there's an organic cause, then the possibility of a cure from pharmaceuticals, let's say, surgeries, and/or is possible. But when the cause is clearly not organic issues with the heart, the stomach, the pancreas, liver, and you have what is very garden variety symptoms of the nervous system when it's malfunctioning, your life is still going to be what your thoughts make of it. Again, case in point would be those who made fantastic contributions to society and to the world at large, even in their affliction. Why? Because their thoughts told them they weren't going to quit. They weren't going to give in. They weren't going to give up. So, feelings. Ruling out that you're not suffering from a true organic problem. The nervous system, keep in mind, is a system. It's a tangible, real system. In other words, if you're feeling pain and somebody would say to you, well, it's all in your mind. Well, no, pain is not in your mind. Pain is in your body. Your stomach hurts, palpitations, shortness of breath. These are real things, not imaginary. However, they are to be controlled by rejecting the thought. That's the key word, right? Thought. That you're in danger when clearly you're not. Here's maybe the tragedy of nervous symptoms, that you could suffer your whole life long with chest pain and shortness of breath and other things, and nothing ever happens. You don't have that heart attack that you thought you were going to have. Or probably one of the most well-known is the feeling of losing your mind. I'm losing my mind. I've read of symptoms that are incredible, and to me they would be exceptionally distressing. People feel their eyes blink on and off. They have involuntary muscle movements. All types of strange, bizarre, like an electric pulse going through your body. These are all symptoms coming from the nervous system and are associated with nervous afflictions or afflictions of the nervous system. Yet they are, I want to use the word mitigated by our thoughts. Meaning, as long as you reject the idea of danger, which is being signaled to the brain, coming from and through the nervous system, if you reject the idea of danger, body relaxes, pressure comes off the nervous system, pressure comes off some of the organs. Like we talked about, or I talked about, the vagus nerve controls your respiration, controls your heart, controls your stomach, your gut, intestines. Yeah, this can be very, very troublesome, but if we take the pressure off of the vagus nerve, or any of the peripheral nerves, smaller nerves, then as the body relaxes and the pressures off the nervous system, the symptom, or symptoms plural, begin to diminish and diminish and diminish. And then before you know it, you have a whole day, no symptoms. They do come back, but you say to yourself, this is just a nervous symptom. No matter how distressing it may be, it's just a nervous system. I'm not in any danger. And what happens is that setback is shortened. Now you have 2 days, then 3. Then a whole week goes by, no symptoms. First time maybe ever in your whole life. Week turns to a month to 6 months. And all along the way there are these setbacks. But as long as you don't allow yourself to panic or to be alarmed, the setback is short. Setbacks in the future are even shorter. And that means that you're starting to actually live in a cured condition, or you're cured. Even with the setbacks, which once again, everybody has them. It's just to what degree is that setback going to be? If you put alarm back on top of it again, the thoughts, remember, we're talking about thoughts here. The thought of danger, the alarm could actually put you right back to where you started when in the beginning. So feelings are not always facts. Let me illustrate it again. You go to your cardiologist and there's something wrong with the valve. I mean, they've proved it. Both the ultrasound and the arteriogram, and whatever else they may do, has shown there's definitely a problem with the valve. Okay, well, that's organic, and that has to be treated with, again, medication, surgeries, whatever. But when you are feeling something that's related to the heart, and that's just one organ, you can pick any organ that you want. You're feeling something that's related to your heart, and you've already been thoroughly checked out so that you know it's not the heart. Well, then it's just a feeling. And in that case, your feeling is not a fact. So you get the idea? There are real facts in life that when you get a feeling from a heart condition or anything, well, it's a fact. You have a heart problem. But when that's been ruled out and you still have a feeling that I think I'm having a heart attack, I can't breathe. This is due to anxiety, the nervous system. And once we detach the thought of fear, then you know that your feeling is not, and I'll add a word in here, I'll add a descriptive word, then your feeling is not necessarily a fact. Because you feel like you're having a heart attack does not mean you are. Because you feel like you're losing your mind, and I think I forgot to mention that earlier, that's what I wanted to get at. That's so common with anxiety especially. You feel like you're losing your mind does not mean that you are. Also, there's something to mention. Whatever you're feeling, people have no clue. Self-consciousness, or the stigma, which I've talked about before, is very common with people who have anxiety and depression. So you feel like, right now you can't see them, at least I don't think you can see them. I'm surrounded by geese. And if I was paranoid, I'd be swearing that these geese are all here looking at me, they're out to get me. Since I'm not paranoid and I'm in my right mind, I know they're just geese. And I don't think they're going to attack me. Maybe we'll find out. It's a thought. Your whole life is subject to the process of thinking. And with nervous symptoms, because you feel something does not mean that it is necessarily a fact. This is very, very key in overcoming the symptoms of anxiety as well as depression. What you're feeling, for instance, let's look at depression. Depression brings with it, of course, lethargy. I remember some years ago, well, it's 30 years ago now, having a bout of depression. And I went out to go on my daily run, and I'm telling you, my body felt so heavy. It felt like I had a piano on my back. I felt so heavy. I mean, my muscles felt heavy, and someone would say, well, that's more than a feeling. There's something wrong. No, not necessarily. The chemical imbalance, right? That's the operative phrase today. The chemical imbalance in the brain is bringing on a feeling of not only lethargy, but of no energy. Now, because I knew better, I just continued to run. And you know what happened? And this happened to me many times. The more you move your muscles, the better I felt. Proving that I was not suffering from real fatigue. Now listen, but what I was suffering from was a feeling of fatigue. You get the difference? If you have some type of severe vitamin deficiency, or there's some deficiencies in your diet, and you're feeling fatigued, well, there's a good chance that feeling is real, that there's something your body is looking for energy. But in most people with nervous symptoms, they don't have those type of issues. And even if they're given proper vitamins and care and diet is changed to be better, they still have a feeling of fatigue and lethargy. But if you treat it as just a feeling, and if you command your muscles to go on that walk, or get on that stationary bicycle, or go over to the gym, or go about your housework, or go to work that day and go about your business, what you're going to find is the feeling was one of deception. That it wasn't a true fatigue, but merely a feeling. So that's the thought that I want to leave you with today. That feelings are not necessarily facts. If again, something is wrong organically, physiologically, okay, then you know where the fatigue is coming from. Deficiency in vitamins, deficiency in vitamins and minerals, deficiency in diet. But when these things are all up to speed, then that feeling is not a fact. You're not really fatigued. You just simply feel fatigued. All right, I think that's enough for today. As I told you, these teachings here, which actually are well beyond the average amount of time spent on most teachings on YouTube. 5 minutes here, 3 minutes here. You can learn good things, but can't learn how to overcome anxiety and depression with 3 and 5 minute videos. So we have to take the whole time here, 25 minutes or so, and go over these lessons. And even then, you're only getting a little bit. So stay with me. Be with me each day, and I'll keep on advancing with you. Let me pray. Father, I just ask you once again to help and to heal all who are watching today, all who are suffering from fear, anxiety, depression, other mental health disorders, and bring them sunshine into their soul. Let the color of their soul be bright. Maybe not at first, but let them see that there is hope. And let them latch on to that hope. Hold on to it until the hope becomes a reality. I pray in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. Okay, once again, I just admonish you, exhort you, or simply invite you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't and you're watching the videos. That helps me to know, as I've said so often, it helps me to know how we're doing here. And then make sure you hit the notification button as well, and then we'll be good to go. All right. So again, my pleasure to be with you. glad, if I've helped you, that I could help you. And that's why I'm dedicating myself to these broadcasts. My desire is to see you set free. God bless you. Lord willing, I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for being with me.